Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about episode 6 of Peacock's The Day of the Jackal. So in my video for episodes 1 through 5, really the only major concern I had for the back half of the season was if it had enough story to justify an additional 5 episodes. Jackal's on his way to kill UDC, his wife has discovered his secret vault, like things are already starting to come to a head, and we'd only gotten halfway through the season. This episode, while still like a fairly entertaining hour of television, it did nothing to assuage those fears. Like episodes don't get much more filler than this one. Jackal's captor from the episode 5 climax turns out to be nobody of significance. Like he's not a twist in the story or a pivotal character that Jackal should have accounted for but didn't. He's a mere detour. He's a time delay. Like a random person that Jackal came across who spun him far enough away from the main plot to fill an entire episode. That's it. Like, now, yes, of course, the plot was advanced, minimally, but it was advanced, and we're going to talk about how. But at the end of the day, we're sitting in virtually the same place we were at the end of the last episode, and that fact has no choice but to be a cause for concern with 4 more episodes left. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not going to lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. The first few minutes of this episode were Jackal and this Hungarian guy, we learned his name is Attila, talking to one another for a fairly decent amount of time, with neither of them understanding the other, which I thought was actually kind of funny. Initially, it seemed like Attila was about to let the Jackal go until he discovered the gun hidden in the hay. And also, I don't want to call him Jackal no more. I think I'm going to just start calling him Charles. But he takes Charles back to his house at gunpoint and calls someone that we later learn was his brother, a guy named Gabor. Gabor was a guy, Gabor like it's the Simpsons. Gabor has a guy working for him that can speak English named Laszlo. So they put Laszlo on the phone so that he could translate between Charles and Attila. Charles offers to pay for his freedom and they agree. So Gabor and Laszlo hop in the car and they go to meet up with Charles and Attila. At Attila's house, he makes the lethal mistake of offering Jackal some bread and then trying to force feed it to him, which, if I'm being honest, felt like a really lazily written way of getting Attila close enough to Charles so that Charles could hurt him. But that's what happens, and Charles headbutts him, I believe, and then eventually stabs him in the chest with a knife. But he can't leave because, of course, Attila's car won't start to the very last minute because, reminder, we're still watching a fairly standard spy thriller here. That was a criticism. Not a criticism, but a concern that I expressed in my other video was like, what is this going to do differently, right? And let's talk about that, actually, because in the Discord right now, in my Discord chat, as I was writing out the notes for this episode, there was a convo going on about mockumentary comedies, like The Office, Abbott Elementary, shit like that. And I said that I don't dislike them, but I am sick of them. Like, it's an overdone technique now. But you know what else I'm sick of? Stupid fucking scenes where a car won't start until the very last minute. Like, have we not moved on from doing this shit after decades and decades and decades of the same tired fucking technique that is incredibly fucking predictable? Like, that moment had zero drama to me, because if you didn't know that car was gonna start at the last minute, this had better been the first fucking episode of a TV show you've ever fucking seen. Like, I'm not a writer, I would never claim to be, but if I was, I couldn't sit down in front of a computer or a typewriter or whatever and type out a stupid fucking scene where a car doesn't start until the last fucking minute and not feel like a fucking hack. Sorry, but not sorry. Anyway, the car won't start, and Gabor and Laszlo arrive right before Jackal can leave. So Jackal shoots Gabor, but he makes Laszlo drive him away at gunpoint. The car scenes with Laszlo here, again, they give me real cause for concern. And not in the moment. Like, in the moment, they were good scenes. But in retrospect, after I finished the episode, I felt differently. So, in the episode, Laszlo's, of course, he's terrified, right? He's got a gun in his back. He's being driven around by a guy who just killed 2 other guys. He does everything Charles says. He says he has the face of a good man or something to that effect. Yada, yada, yada. But then Charles calls his wife from Laszlo's phone with Laszlo in the car, and immediately I kind of like perk up, right? Because why would he do that? Like, he must have some sort of plan, right? You're not just gonna like call your wife from this guy's phone and just talk to her openly as Charles, like right in front of him, right? Like, he's saying her real name over the phone. He talks about his secret vault. He asks her to bring him something from the vault, and the show makes it a point to not show us whatever it is that he asked for. But I'm still sitting there watching like, whatever it was, he asked for it in front of Laszlo. I didn't hear it, but Laszlo heard it. Like, this is way too much for him to be doing in front of this guy, right? And he's having like a real heart-to-heart with his wife too. He's talking about regret, sounding like he believes he might not see her again. And I'm thinking like, this is all a trick, right? This is some sort of con. He has some sort of plan. And I do believe he still may have been manipulating his wife in order to get prosthetics for the UDC kill. Like, I believe that to some degree, but largely, he's like being really emotional and honest in this moment. And then he gets out of the car and he lets Laszlo live. And again, I'm like, what, that's it? Like, this guy who goes out of his way to hide his real identity to the point of like wearing prosthetics, he just called his wife from the guy who he's holding at gunpoint's phone and said her real name in front of him. And that's it? He just leaves? That's it? And now I'm sitting here like, wait, was that not a ploy at all? Like, did this episode just decide to make Charles dumb as fuck for one scene? Like, and I'm not saying that this Laszlo situation is going to come back to bite him, but if it does, remember that they telegraphed it by having Jackal act wildly out of character in this moment. That's another sign of some shitty writing. Like, if that was him being authentic, that was also him being out of character. You know, and also, you know another thing I'm sick of? Someone being held at gunpoint, thinking they're about to get shot in the back or in the back of the head, and then they turn around and that person has like disappeared, like it vanished into thin air. Like, I'm tired of it as a concept, and I'm tired of like the implausibility of it every time a show or film does that tired ass fucking concept. When they do it in this episode, this might be one of the worst ones because it's very literally like in the true sense, not how everyone else says literally nowadays doesn't know what it means. It's literally impossible for Jackal to get out of that car with that big ass gun and close the door behind him without making a sound. Like, don't do implausible shit because you think it looks cool. Like, especially when the thing that you think is cool has been done 84.5 billion fucking times in all television shows and films. Like, I'm not sitting here like, oh shit, mind blown. Like, Jackal let him live and then disappeared silently. He a cold motherfucker. Like, I'm sitting here thinking that's fucking impossible and it's fucking stupid. Like, if he's able to open the door silently, which is simultaneously unlikely and still the most plausible aspect of this entire scene, Laszlo would have absolutely heard the change of sound from like inside the car silence to opening the door and letting in all of the outside noise. Like he would 100% hear that. And that's the most plausible aspect of this moment. Jackal's not going to be able to maneuver out of that car with a gun of that size without making a sound or shaking the car, and he sure as fuck ain't going to be able to close that door back. Like, why didn't they just have him leave the door open? Right? Like, if the door was open, I'm willing to accept the scene. Like, it's dumb and it's implausible and it's overused, but I'm not going to rant about it in this video if they just leave the fucking door open. Like, you know what I think happened? Laziness. I've said it like 3 or 4 times already in this video, like a continuity error. Nobody cared enough to be like, yo, having him close the door back is fucking stupid and it's ridiculous. And what do I say time and time again? It's the little things that separate a good show from a great one. A great one isn't even gonna do a stupid scene like that, but if it did, they wouldn't ask their viewer to believe he would silently close the door behind him. Fuck, I'm all worked up as shit. Anyway, moving on. Charles has his wife, Nuria, fly out to meet him, and we learn that she's brought some of his prosthetics from his vault. And he says because people want him dead, so she has to take him to the airport disguised as this old man in a walking boot and in a wheelchair. Bianca is also at the airport, originally being sent back to London, even though she was in Hungary at the same time as Charles, knowing that he was there. Like, why would you put her in charge of the operation to catch the Jackal? It's called Operation Anubis, by the way. That's divulged in this episode. And then fly her away from him with everyone knowing that he's in the same place as her. Like, yeah, come back to London. I want to put you in charge of the Jackal operation. Well, he's right here, so no, come back anyway. Like, what the fuck, right? But Bianca gets diverted to Tallinn in Estonia, which is where UCD is going to be announcing River, and that's how her and Jackal end up on the same plane. And again, it was a little too cute to have her sitting in the one open seat directly in front of him. But I'm just going to accept that that's how this show is at this point. Like, even when I was watching it, I put LOL in my notes as soon as I saw the seat in front of Charles was open. Like, we already know who a lazy writer is gonna put in that seat, right? So anyway, when Charles arrives in Estonia after taking off all his prosthetics, the police knock at the door. And they say there's been a robbery upstairs. Charles is staying in an Airbnb, at least that's what he says. And they just want to know if he saw anything related to this robbery upstairs. What the fuck was this cop's problem? Like, okay, so we, the audience, we know that there's a shit ton of reasons to be suspicious of Charles and to ask him 8 million questions because we know everything that he's done. We know how sneaky he is, all that kind of shit. But she don't know that. He just a motherfucker that was behind the door when you opened it. You would wonder, anybody know anything about this robbery? Hey, here's this guy. Let me ask him. Why is she questioning him so hard? He's like, yeah, this is an Airbnb. Yo, I'm here on business. I also went sightseeing. And she's like, you're here on business? I thought you said you went sightseeing. Like he can't do both things. Like, that's not a red flag. Like, he could have got off work and then went sightseeing. Like, she acted like that was a hole in his story or some shit. And then she's like, can we get a phone number from you in case we were to ask you more questions? Which, even that felt like crossing a boundary, but whatever, right? like I'm Charles, like, am I a suspect right now? But anyway, he gives her a number, and she immediately calls it. Like, lady, you have no reason to suspect that he gave you a fake number. But again, man, this is lazy fucking writing. They're like, let's manifest tension. And they don't give a fuck about whether or not their methods are plausible or make sense or feel real or realistic or authentic. And that's a huge fucking red flag, man. Anyway, Jackal meets up with Rasmus. Rasmus is that guy that helped him find his phone, whichever episode it was where he dropped it from the rafters when he was practicing what inevitably is going to be his shot at UDC. And these two, they don't seemingly end up drinking. They end up drinking and seemingly have sex. I mean, they don't. The episode ends, but it looks like they're about to get it in. I don't think this is a reveal that Charles is gay or anything like that. I don't think that's the point. I think this is a callback to the first episode and the janitor. You know, Charles essentially usurped that janitor's identity to be able to get into the building that Elias Fest worked in, so he could, shoot him but not kill him, get Manfred Fest out, etc. I think that's what's happening here. Rasmus works at the venue that UDC is going to be speaking at, and I think we're meant to understand that Charles's plan is to kind of do the same thing here. He's probably going to kill Rasmus, probably going to make prosthetics of his face, and that's how he's going to access the venue. He's going to go in as Rasmus. Of note in these scenes with Rasmus, by the way, I'm pretty sure they played the theme to Luther when they were in the bar, like a version of it. And I know it's not like the theme to Luther. It's probably like a regular song, and they use that song as the theme to Luther. But I know it is a theme to Luther. I'm pretty sure that was like a different version of the theme to Luther. But yeah, man, like that's where we end this lazily written filler episode. And like it wasn't great, man. It wasn't bad. Like, I enjoyed the time spent despite what it may seem like. It's like there's just certain things that really fucking get to me, man. And this episode had several of them. and it had a lot of problems. And most concerning for me is the fact that it's an ominous sign of what's to come. I was already concerned that the show, didn't have enough for 10 episodes, and this one almost seemed to confirm that for me, that it probably doesn't. Before I wrap up, though, I want to talk about the black guy from Peacemaker. I usually do okay with transitions, but I said, I like the writers of this show, I said, fuck it. Let me just transition however I do it. But I learned his name is Osi. At least that's what Bianca calls him, spelled O-S-I. It's short for something else, but she calls him Osi on the phone. Osi gets a text from a number where he's deleted all of the previous texts between him and this person. And the text that comes in says that they should talk about UDC. And then after this text, which we don't know what happens after that, he goes and tells Isabel that UDC is going to be a Talon, and then that's when Bianca gets diverted from London while she's in the airport to go into Talon. Now, I just want to close by saying I stand even firmer in this statement. If OC is not the mole, cool. I look forward to learning who it is. We're good. But if he is the mole, this is the worst execution of this I've ever seen. It is so fucking obvious that I'm kind of at the point where I'm changing my stance to where he's probably not the mole because it's just so obvious that he is. So like, it has to be someone else because like they cannot be this bad at hiding him being the mole. But I guess we'll see. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and until next week, peace.